So I'm here today to talk to you guys about an interesting psychological concept that I think is very relevant to what is going on currently in our society in terms of our relationship with our police force. So in-group bias refers to favoritism towards one's own group or derogation towards members of another group. In English, that means you think that people like you are good people with good intentions that do good things, and people not like you are bad people with bad intentions and they do bad things, and they aren't really good at anything. In the case of our police force has historically been white dudes. White dudes have historically been responsible for the most violence, war, and enslavement of others in our modern society. Isn't it funny that these are the guys in charge of policing us? The reason why all cops are bastards is true is because all cops are bastards. Cops aren't keeping each other in check about racism because racism is an integral part of law enforcement. If you look at it historically, policing in the southern states of America finds its origins in slave patrols. The slave patrol can be traced back to as early as the 1700s in South Carolina. Members of the slave patrol could forcefully enter people's homes regardless of race or ethnicity under suspicion they were sheltering escaped slaves. In the north, it can be traced back to centralized municipal police departments that began to form in the 1800s. Once again, they were primarily white males and they were more concerned with controlling disorder rather than fighting actual crime. They were mostly concerned with controlling African Americans, immigrants, and the poor. So not much has changed since then. And also, for most of the 20th century, there were very few standards for hiring or training police officers. So in summary, policing has historically been primarily a job for racist white men who aren't really good at anything. Please explain to me why these people are not only allowed to, but encouraged to walk around with a firearm. Okay, but what about non-white police officers, you're probably thinking? Well, they're still cops. They're part of the fraternity of police officers that are indoctrinated into this in-group of brothers in blue. They develop the same in-group bias that can be written off as looking out for your fellow police officer. This explains Officer Tu Thao and Officer Jared Ewan, both men of color who have been caught on camera supporting the racist and violent regime of the police force. So yes, your brother, cousin, uncle, husband, sister, whatever relative you have on the police force can be kind to you and people like you in your community, but still be a bastard because they punch into work and wear that uniform while knowing that the system they work for is racist. Their coworkers are racist and the laws they enforce are usually racist. All for a paycheck. We'll talk about their paycheck soon. So regardless of someone's race, sexual orientation, gender, or age, they're still cops and participate in the bastardized profession of law enforcement that is rooted in racism and controlling the underclass. So let me bring your attention towards the Stanford prison experiment. From August 14th to August 20th, 1971, psychology professor Philip Zimbardo led a research project to investigate the psychological effects of perceived power, focusing primarily on the struggle between prisoners and prison officers. Zimbardo randomly assigned participants to be prisoners or guards while he was acting superintendent. The study was abandoned after 6 days as participants began to relish in their assigned roles. Those assigned to be guards began to participate in authoritarian behavior and began to subjugate some prisoners to psychological torture. Many prisoners accepted the abuse and even went so far as to actively harass prisoners who tried to stop it. The study is noted as having a very uneventful first day, but then on the second day, prisoners blockaded their doors with their beds and refused to listen to the instruction of guards. Guards began to volunteer to work overtime to assist in subduing the revolt and began to attack prisoners with fire extinguishers without being supervised by research staff. Zimbardo concluded that the simulated prison situation, rather than individual personality traits, caused participants' behavior. So you're telling me that if I label someone as a law enforcer and put them in a position of power to punish and detain others, they will actively relish in their position of power, inflict violence upon others, and volunteer extra time towards the greater mission of their in-group over their own morals. Does that not sound like our police force? An equally impactful issue in North American policing is how many tax dollars are given to this bastardized tradition of racism, oppression, and violence. The United States equips every cop like they're G.I. fucking Joe, but they can't equip doctors like doctors. We have nurses working in hospitals, frontline, with coronavirus patients without N95 masks. The Toronto Police Department, responsible for the untimely death of Regis Packett, receives 24% of every homeowner in the city's property tax. We are funding our police force, our domestic terrorists like a military. Our tax dollars go towards the salaries of people who are supposed to serve and protect, but they instead traumatize and murder us. We are literally putting money in the pockets of our oppressors. First and foremost, we can begin to decrease funding towards our police force, especially when our society should realistically be practicing social distancing for the next year or whenever COVID-19 vaccine is readily available. We should be trying to recruit police forces from the communities they work in. We should be policed by officers that look like us, and we should avoid having an overly white and male police force. Police officers should be actively encouraged to become whistleblowers for their contemporaries, holding each other accountable, calling each other out. All instances of misconduct by police officers should be public knowledge, no protecting the image or reputation of our police force. Let their flaws be front and center. If there are only a few bad cops, let everyone know exactly how many as well as their names. There's no valid reason to protect bad cops. So, thank you for listening this far and watching the video. I guess like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna try to do these more often. This was very cathartic. It was nice to sit down and just write some thoughts out and record myself. Yeah, thanks for watching.